Good day, everyone! Coming to you straight from the Permaculture Orchard. It's the peak of summer. Great time to talk about a walkabout, or to show you a walkabout. Wanted to see some W's today. Walkabout, the importance, doing it. Secondly, the weather. No, secondly, work, or the lack of it. And third, the weather. And we'll sprinkle through a bunch of looks at the crop that's coming up. Stay tuned. Yes, it's the peak of summer. It's mid-July, a little past mid-July, and you know what? This is the heat of summer. This is, to me, I call this jungle season. I mean, everything's looking so luxurious. So it's a great time to walk about. Have you been doing walkabouts? Have you been going around and looking? That's really an important one. If you don't, maybe go see the series or see the first one. I explain why a walkabout. But I was reminded because lately I've been filming for the masterclass, and we filmed the observation course and the importance of observation. Let me see here. How you need to observe, and looking at why. You know, people talk about observation's important. I've even said that. Maybe you saw in the film, The Permaculture Orchard, I talked about the importance of observing. This is a bit of a jungle row here. You see that? How thick it is? Why should you observe? Why do walkabouts? Why look around? It's to create a baseline so you could know at a glance. Oh, look, here's something that's happening. Oh, this is going on. Oh, this is new. I've never seen this. That's the importance of observing, and walkabouts, doing it regularly, is so important to see how things are going, what's changing, what's different, what's growing. Let me show you what's growing. I've been seeing more and more walnut trees coming up everywhere, and if you saw one of those videos earlier, I don't remember which one it is, I talked about seedlings and how now we're getting, oh, look at that, that's nice. See, that's part of observing. I did some grafting earlier on, and they're starting to bud out. These are new pears from Bernie Nikolai from Edmonton. Hardy, super tough Russian selections. This is late. I grafted these late, but it's okay. They're just going to settle in. They're not going to really grow, but that's obviously fused now. And so that's nice to see. I didn't notice. That's the first one I see starting to pop out. So do your walkabouts. Go look around. Go see how things are looking. You know, how's the crop looking? How's the grass looking? How is the growth? How's that crop looking? That's pretty thick, actually. That's very nice. Flowers are getting pretty full. Look at that. Whoa, here's some leftover of the purple coneflower. That's been a while we haven't had that. We planted that, gee, how many years ago? Probably 10 years ago we planted those. I want to talk about that for work. So yeah, go do a walkabout and work. Let's hit that one. It's not so much what work to do, and that is the purpose of going on a walkabout, is looking at what there is to do and reordering them and having an idea and not getting surprised by, oh, here, this is something to do, you know. I came upon these grape, these are some of our really nice selections, Somerset grape, and these were just cutting stuck, and they're starting, and we gave them a stick, and you see, the idea is every nitrogen fixer should have a grape or a vine. So some have grape, some have kiwi, some have grape and kiwi, and some have nothing, like this one had, and it didn't take, has the stick. But that's okay, that's part of it. You know, you gotta understand that not everything takes and grows. I was thinking about work and how much I haven't done this year. That's the most exciting. It's really been, not how much I've done, but how much I haven't done and how much I don't have to do. Not a great cropping tree. But it's been amazing. I kind of tallied. I've done about a week's work, 7 days of work in the orchard this year. And honestly, it's like, that's cheating. Oh, show you this one. Papa! Eliza Greenman sent me some seeds. I bought some seeds from her a few years ago and put them in, and I found there's 2 of them around. That's the bigger one, and there's another one somewhere. And so really, it's exciting. As I get older, I realize it's not a matter of looking, oh, I got to do this. It's looking and being able to see what I don't have to do, and especially how little there is to do. And let me encourage you, when you're starting, see, you could get trees to grow. There's another walnut. They're everywhere. Now the walnut trees have become weeds. Time to start pulling them out. The permaculture orchard, the beauty of this and the beauty of a perennial system is that, you don't have to do much. And you know what? It gets better. It gets better every year. So that as you're younger and you put it in, and no matter how old you are, I don't care if you're 80 and you say, I don't know if I should put it in, and hey, you're 80 now, put it in, because you're just going to get older. So get it in while you're younger, and then, you know what, as you're older, you realize it takes less and less work. And that's why when we tour in Europe, our biggest audience is actually gardeners, vegetable gardeners. Oh, nice little treat. Always keep yourself some things that are ripe that you can just come around and gather. Here, these are actually, I never even planted these, to give you an idea. This is just bird planted black raspberries. And I always say, you don't want to eat these little fruit berries one by one. Don't do that. Eat them by the handful. Like, that's not quite a handful, but that's how you want to eat them. I was talking about work and how much, really, it's been incredible. It's incredible. That's the big difference between an annual system like vegetable cropping, which is a lot of work, because everything that's growing you have to plant, transplant, or seed. And so it's work. The permaculture orchard, the nice thing, and any perennial based system, is you have some work, sure, but you know what? You put it in when it's planted. If it gets established, that's it. The work is done. And so that's the beauty of a perennial system as opposed to an annual system. It gets better every year. It becomes more productive. And so that's a really nice difference. Some of you may know this plant. Give a shout out if you do. I could probably tell where you're from if you know that plant. The other thing is, I really work seasonally. I can be pretty, call it lazy, but I can be pretty low work mode. And that's not a bad thing, to be low work mode. Nowadays, I find I nap every day. This is, I said the nap system originally in the film. If you haven't seen the film, The Permaculture Orchard, the idea of a nap. If you don't know what it is, well, look up some of the videos that explain trios and you'll see. The idea is you vary the trees, and originally the idea was, if it works and it's less work, then I'll be able to take a nap. Well, I can tell you, I take a nap certainly a lot more seasonally. Spring still tends to be a busier time. There's one. Kiwi. They're coming on. So seasonally take a break. Oh, these have been, Yeah, these are an earlier one. That's true. This tree is just about ripe. It's in the wrong row. And these are, yeah, they're starting to be ready. They're smaller because, well, it's been a tough year to start. I've also been helping my daughter with her house. They bought a trailer that they're renovating, and it's been a nice project. The other thing is the beauty of trapping instead of spraying. So we put in 2 days of work for each of the types of traps. Did a few videos on that, trapping apple maggot fly and trapping codling moth. If you don't know what they are, well, go see those videos. And the beauty of traps, in fact, here we ran out of traps because we have so many fruit trees loaded that in this area we didn't even put any because we just ran out. But the beauty of traps is that once you put them up and they're out there, they're working for you 24 hours a day, as opposed to sprays where you've got to go out there and spray. Oh, here's one of the traps. Codling moth trap. Yeah, nice and full too. That's good. That's working. It's catching codling moth. And so, yeah, that's been a nice change to use traps. This tree's doing well. Not overly cropped, but a good crop. So that's been really the important thing about all that. Oak tree. Gee, it's hot and sticky today. Really hot and sticky. It's actually nice to just come in the shade of the trees. It's hot in the sun. One of the other parts I wanted to mention was how the weather this year has been really pretty wild. We had a very hot and dry spring. There's something here, I think it was a chipmunk. Hot and dry this spring to the point where, yeah, it was, some of the things were really looking sad, really starting to suffer. And then at the end of May, we had a frost. And in fact, these grapes here, you still see a little bit of the effect. Some of the leaves higher up frosted, but a lot of branches just completely burned out. That's still the frost. Yeah, it was a severe frost, and it was 3 nights of frost. So it hit hard at a time. Egyptian onion, if you don't have that, go look it up, get some seed. So easy to plant, such a great crop. Perennial, you plant it once, harvest forever. And yeah, so that was quite the start to the year and weather-wise. And then it made for one big advantage of it is it's been a very, very low year for disease. I mean, look at how clean these leaves are. You'd be hard-pressed to find, except even on some of the most sensitive ones that are quite sensitive to scab. Is this one? No. There's really been very low disease, and that's what happens when it's a dry year, because it's a very dry spring. That's the time that usually the spores come out, and well, they came out on a couple of rains pretty well. That was it. And so it was not, there's not a high incidence of disease, put it this way. It's a very, very easy year disease-wise. And that's very nice too, to get a low disease year. Here for some of you again. So here's this one, if you know what that is. And here's its companion, often grown in the same areas. You may recognize that. Put that down in the comments if you know what this plant is. And it's actually very small this year. I mean, normally these flowers are up 9 feet high, and this year they're only about 5 feet. So that just shows the very, very dry spring conditions. Actually, they froze down too. That didn't help. And so, yeah, that was quite the interesting start to the year. Plus, this year, it was almost it was near record in effect of gypsy moth. So interestingly, I've been finding it very interesting how certain trees really got hit pretty hard by gypsy moth. Just certain ones, not all of them. Usually it's the ones that are smaller, but some of the bigger ones got hit too. And it certainly goes by cultivar, because some of them you couldn't find any damage, and others there's quite a lot of damage. Yeah, so I really didn't do much work today either. But this year, it's been a very, very relaxed year so far. We have our first open day coming up this weekend, and so people will be able to come and pick. It's mainly the small fruit right now: gooseberries, currants, black currants, red currants. That's the main crop here in the old formerly organic orchard. Some of the trees are just absolutely loaded. Some of the early ones, but even some of the later ones. It's going to be a very good apple year, that's for sure. Lots and lots of apples. We did a little bit of planting to fill in this year. Maybe if you remember, this is the middle of the orchard, so we're trying to build up a laneway here of trees. So it was a very tough year to transplant little cedars. Some of them had it tough, but there's still some greenery even after all this dry period. Even with irrigation, it's been so dry so early that it's been pretty wild. Maybe you saw my caterpillar teacher video or why about this. So this is tent caterpillar second round. So they've had a first round, and this is the second hatch. And yeah, I don't get excited about them. It's like, yeah, they're there. Now the wasps are really starting to kick in. They've had a good spring as well because it's been dry. They like dry conditions. And so there's quite a few. I've seen a few wasp nests in the orchard. Yeah, some of these trees are doing really quite well. These are old trees too. This is a little bit over 40 years. So some of them have been reconstructed, rebuilt, pruned, and restarted. Some of them are, yeah, well, summer's a good time to show what is alive and what isn't alive. I had a little bit of fire blight in here. Never really had fire blight in the apple trees, but it's been so stressful this year that some of them have had a bit of fire blight, so I've been cutting that out. I wanted to show you the new seeded orchard, how ended up transplanting, bought some plum trees from Eric de Lorimi's nursery, and they've done really well. They've taken well, even though they didn't get here. There's no irrigation in this area, so it's been extremely dry in here. And I transplanted the pear trees really early. Oh yeah, there they are. They're tiny, little seedlings. See that? But they're there. So you see, they're in there. It's not thriving, not at all, but they're there. And I just want them to get started, get established. See some of the plum trees. See that? That was the idea of the seeded orchard. Unfortunately, none of the seeds germinated here. This is just way too dry in here, just to give you an idea. This is the soil here, and we just had a half-inch of rain last night. So yeah, it's tough for a seed to germinate in these conditions. with that much rain, and even this spring, last spring was dry, and this year was even drier. So sometimes timing makes a difference. Trying to get a seeded orchard going when you get two of the driest springs we've had in a long time. So it happens. Put in some potatoes because we have all this mulch, and they're doing okay considering they should be double the size, but this is with zero water in this dry conditions. So I gave them a bit more compost. Yeah, hey, for no water, the new leaves are looking good. It suffered. It's had, you know what? It tells insects, hey, I'm pretty stressed, But they're there, and they've started in a really tough year, tough spring to start trees with no water in sand soil. So I'm very happy. It's surprising they've taken, most of these little pear seedlings are here. They're not huge, but they're here, and so that's nice. So I transplanted these from the front orchard where it is a little bit better soil. It's not the best situation to do. I'm going to do a video on programming seeds, so it's not the best situation, but you know what? Sometimes it's good, better, best. It's still good. It's not the best situation. It's not the best way to do it. The best would have been to have programmed the seeds and planted them, or even to have the seeds come up on their own. But it was literally too dry here for even the seeds to germinate. So I do want this orchard to get going. There's the other plum. So they should start. They should start. We got some hens this year. We'll go see the hens. They're down there. And we still have area. Look at all this area left. You enjoying summer? It's the hot season. It's the warm season. It's the summer season. And you know what? Every season has its pluses and minuses. Yes, it's hotter. Yes, it's tougher to get certain things done. But you know what? It just is. You're farming. Don't hope for what you don't get. Just go with whatever you get. Here you can still see the effect of that frost. See, it completely burned the tips. And this was a surprisingly high frost. Like, this is 5 feet up, and it went to about 5.5, 6 feet high. I haven't seen a late spring frost go that high for a long time. Let's take the other lane. It's mowed. Hey, butterfly. So I've done a little bit of mowing. Look at this. Crop-wise, that's golden russet. Finally starting to learn how to prune golden russet. It's a trickier, because it's a tip bearer. It's a trickier tree to prune. But you have to prune minimally, and when you select a shoot, let it go. Just let it have its area. And then you see that was here's a couple more. They were tall, and now because they're loaded with fruit, see the way they bend? So that will give you a decent load of fruit. They're not a huge producer of golden russet, but they will give you some. And those of you who I know if you're in Europe, you definitely know this. Black currant. So this is going to be peak weekend for black currant and red currant. So those who like black and red currant, this is going to be the time. I mean, there's a hefty load, and they're looking really, really nice. Those of you who are in Europe, too bad, because I know from some comments that the birds really are after them. We don't get any birds eating black currant. We occasionally have some will eat red currant, although this year, for the first time, I really lost a lot of gooseberries. That's my favorite fruit. And I was kind of bummed that, almost all the gooseberries are pecked this year. See, more golden russet coming along. They're small, but you know what? Give them, even though they're irrigated, like there's irrigation underneath this plastic, 3 lines. Irrigation is not the same. Go see that, you know, the best rain of the year is during a thunderstorm. There's nothing like a good rain, because that tree, its roots here extend out into the aisle. And when we get a good rain will be anything over an inch and a half to really soak the soil. Then these fruit will all of a sudden start to grow. And when you have a big crop year, some years you don't want to hear that. This isn't so bad. I mean, it's good crop, but it's not over crop. It was just about perfect. And so when you get a year with a lot of fruit on, a heavy fruit set, and you get a lot of rain late in the summer, the fruit are formed in the sense that all their cells are made. Everything that makes up that fruit is already there. The fruit is small. I mean, that's still small. But they're just waiting, because basically the cells are like sponges. Right now they're all closed. They're made, but they're closed tight. You get a good rain and they're just going to start absorbing water. So the fruit will grow. And sometimes it grows quite quickly. I've seen after rain for 4 or 5 days, the fruit growing by half almost. It seems like it grows by half. A bit of black raspberry. Those of you who see the video how to prune black raspberry, these weren't even pruned. I really, you know, do what I say, don't do what I do. Because I didn't even prune these this year, not at all. But they still produce. Yep. That's what you want to have. Stained hands, because you're picking fruit. Oh, get the other one too. Oh, and get this one too. So, yeah, what was I talking about? The fruit sizing up. So they will size up, and sometimes when you get a lot of fruit, like this branch here is already really arced. It's bent, and you double the size of these fruit on here, and that branch will come and literally hang like this. So those of you who don't know about training and pruning, go see the pruning course. I mean, it really comes down to understanding branch angle, and this is what happens. Normally the branches will train themselves, but you can also train them. These are untrained. These are actually unpruned trees for the most part. We only prune to get by. And so this is a super low work block. It's pretty well walk around and eat. Once in a while come through and mow. Hope you're not getting dizzy with the movement of the camera. That is nice. Some more here. You're going, don't just get on there and eat fruit. Well, get planting. Plant your own place, and you'll be able to just walk around and eat fruit. It's not a bad deal when you get to walk and eat. It's actually one of the great pleasures of having something like this. Obviously, when you see trees like this, there's no way I can just walk and eat. In fact, I can't even eat apples hardly anymore. I've overdosed on apples so much in my life that I can't really, I don't eat them like I used to. I'll eat a dozen apples in the season, that's it. And they gotta be really, really good. Hey girls! You've done a nice job in here. You see how they prepare the site? So these are our hazelnut plantings, and they really do a great job of weeding it out. So that's what it looks like. They've been in here for pretty well a week now. It's a big piece, but they've impacted it, and this is what it looked like just before. So they do a job. I mean, they do a great job of clearing some vegetation, preparing the soil, fertilizing, certainly getting insects. Oh yeah, I turned the fence off to get the eggs. You gotta turn that fence on. And they will definitely create areas that are good for their dust baths. I'll just show you inside. Did I put it on? Yes, I didn't put it on. So it's a very, very simple chicken arrangement. I like this pen design, very simple. It's basically like two skis. So there's a 2x4 on one side and 2x4 on the other. Hoops. So we got a hoop bender, bent some hoops, put some roosts, attached some 2x3s on the side here with some supports, and put some very simple nest boxes in there. They roost up here, and then they lay eggs in there. You want to do demo? That's good. You do a good demo. Yeah, it's not complicated keeping chickens, but the key is having that electric fence. You may want to see my video on predator pinball, because that is the most important. So we've had them now for a little over a month, and so the predators around know what's going on. I gave them this little piece. The fence was here this morning, so I extended the fence out. So now this is green, this is fresher grass. So you see, they haven't eaten this out yet. And so yes, chickens will eat grass. I mean, give them grass. And the quality of the eggs is phenomenal once they have access to all the grass that they can eat. I mean, what chicken from an egg, even when it says free run, free run just means they have access to outside. It does not mean they have access to fresh green pasture, because they'll eat all their favorite stuff out very quick, and then the only thing left is pretty well a mud yard. So don't do that. If you're gonna have chickens, get some electric netting like this and move them. Keep moving them. I mean, I do it on a pretty relaxed basis. We give them a huge area for a week, but they do work it over pretty good. And then, yeah, then they'll get that area next. We'll fence over that. And that way, we don't want it so that there's no grass left. That's not the purpose. We want grass, and we want them to eat a lot of grass. Show you the load of fruit that we have coming in, the loaded apples. Boy, some seriously heavy crop load. So that's all what it looks like. Here we had, it's not like there's no grass, although they will definitely dig wherever there has been a higher accumulation of leaves. So you see here between the different trees, so here's a hazelnut, another hazelnut, and a black cherry. So between here there was more leaves accumulated, so they will definitely scalp it if they can. And they like that, and they're getting insects in there. Hey, it makes for great quality eggs. That's what you want. Our very, very minimal, low maintenance garden this year. Very minimal. I'm not into really vegetable gardening much, even with this system of low work. I didn't even plant this, so didn't do much. But we haven't even weeded. We just seeded in here. That's all. Just put some seeds in, and the seeds that grew. Haven't been big on gardening. Not big on gardening. To me, annual gardening is, yes, it can produce a lot of food, but it's also a lot more work. As much as possible, replace it with a perennial system. Even this Jerusalem artichoke. I mean, you know how much food is in this little patch? This is going to be hundreds of pounds of Jerusalem artichoke. I like Jeff Lawton's take on it. If ever we're into a serious decline, most people won't know what these things are, and so they don't recognize it as food. And so this is like a emergency reserve food. Go through here. here's one of our most scabby type trees, Cortland, and you see a little, there is some scab on there. That's scab. But overall, for a tree, these haven't been sprayed at all. So not bad for no spray, zero spray. Somebody would say, yeah, but you know, there's still disease. Sure, there's disease, because this is a very disease susceptible cultivar. What would your orchard look like if you didn't put anything on it? That's always how you can compare. I mean, sure, it's not, you can get a great result, but what did you put as inputs? And like these trees here, these were some of the only ones I really did some pruning this year, because it was nice weather in February and I came in and pruned. I mean, these are just absolutely, I pruned them hard because I wanted to limit the amount of branches, because I knew they would have a pretty good crop. But yeah, that's a pretty healthy load of apples on here. And in fact, you can still see on some of them the consequences. This is the consequences of the frost. See the tips? It frosted when they were little, and so they have these buttons. But some of them didn't, and some of them are looking pretty good. But yeah, loaded with fruit. Apple maggot fly traps. See, there's some, those are some apple maggots. See, tuk 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 tuk. These things are nice. They work. They're working and working, even when you're not. Yeah, that's quite a load. I don't really like to see that many flies in a trap, but I knew, because these are the early apples. These are the ones that have the most flies. And again, because I just haven't been collecting fruit, any of these that had the maggot flies in them already, well, that's just a chance for the fly to emerge from the apple, go into the ground, and come out next year. So this is the easiest way to get really nice fruit, is to not let any fruit hang around under the tree. But that's a pretty healthy crop of fruit in there. So it's summertime. Time to enjoy the season. Yeah, taking it pretty relaxed. Not how much work you get done, but how much work you can avoid. That is really an important one. Weather is weather, so you're not going to change much about it. But certainly take time to go do a walkabout, even in the heat. Maybe choose a cooler time of day. Don't take the middle of the day. Choose the early morning to go for a walkabout. And just observe what you can see. Hope you enjoyed these walkabouts. See you next week. Thanks for watching. Intrigued? Check out the virtual tour of the Permaculture Orchard. Have trees already? pruningcourse.com. Subscribe, please. Check out some of the other videos or playlists. There's more to come. Stay tuned. Bye. Bulldog, even you are finding it hot.